The Department of Education announced it will temporarily and some good news for millions of Americans paying off student loans. The Department of Education announced it will temporarily drop interest rates by 1% to those enrolled in automatic payments. The reduction begins July 1st and runs through June 2028. If you have not enrolled in auto pay and want to take advantage of this rate cut, you have until September 30th to enroll. The change only applies to people with loans that were taken out after July 1st of 2012. And some good news for millions of Americans paying off student loans. The Department of Education.
July 1st, everyone on the if you have student loans, well, this video is for you. So if you haven't heard already, if you have student loans and you're on the SAVE plan, starting July 1st, everyone on the SAVE plan is going to be automatically transferred to the standard repayment option available on StudentGov. Now, if this is alarming you, let's see what happens. A motion was just filed to stop this. So there was two components that this is affecting. So one was transferring the borrowers out of SAVE plan automatically and into standard repayment, and instead putting them back on the repay plan that most of us were on prior to that. The other piece is tackling the professional caps for student loans. So let's see, the government had changed the caps so that professional programs had an overall cap of $200,000, and also significantly upset a lot of healthcare providers because not everyone was considered professional. So for example, physician assistants, nurses, they weren't included in part of this professional cap. So let's see what happens.
Payment plan. See, I started the application student loan. I just checked my student loans, bro, and they're so bad that I am considering a payment plan for the payment plan. See, I started the application, saw the estimate monthly payment, and immediately gave Jesus the will. Because ain't no way they think I got that in 2026. Man, gas is already costing a fortune. Grocery stores cost an arm and a leg. And house repairs cost your firstborn and his grandson. And you expect me to pay a student loan that I only got because 90% of the companies out here ask for a college degree? Trick, I know a scam when I see one. But as I digress, it may be me. Maybe I moved too quick and I didn't see everything. So in the comments, let me know, what is your student loan payment? And serious question, did your stomach drop when you saw that number too?
Why you didn't tell us what yours was? That's what I was waiting on. We could look at these comments. The one comment says, my lowest estimate said $400 a month. I say we all apply for bankruptcy. Little do you know, student loans are the one thing or one of the things that you cannot wipe away with bankruptcy. On the SAVE plan, I was paying around $27 a month. My new standard payment would be, get out of here. She says her new standard payment would be almost $10,000 a month. New income-based payment would be $687 a month. It says LMFAO not happening. Somebody else says my payment is $5,500. I wish I was lying, bro. At this point, these loans are between Jesus and Mr. Beast. I was 18 years old when the FAFSA signed me to that 360 deal. Goodness gracious. I can't believe some of these things. It says, so I've been on the same repayment program since I graduated nursing school in 2012. I started with $77K and have paid in $82K and still owe $64K. Roughly $300 of my $400 payment goes to interest. Oh, wow. Yeah, some people have really stepped in it, and they're not approaching these loans with the urgency that it deserves, because I really look at a lot of these student loans, when I hear some of these people balances, I really look at that as the new age slavery. The new age slavery. Before, back in olden times, it used to be normal to make someone your slave, especially if they had to work off a debt. If you're telling me that this can't be wiped away with bankruptcy, that means that you're going to have to work this off some way, somehow. Otherwise, you're going to start getting garnished, and you're going to start having self-inflicted wounds that's hitting you from a lot of different angles that will be addressed, especially when we're talking about loans on the federal level. But let's get into some more clips, y'all. Before we do, though, if you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. It only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know, and it's really just a click. So if you're here anyway, You might as well just click that like button. And also, if you could hype as well. The caption says college grads upset about repaying their student loans.
What about the bankruptcy too? Like, I wonder, the president, I wonder where that money went.
Does anyone else find it odd that people complain about average Americans wanting student loan forgiveness, but then support a billionaire who has had hundreds of millions of loans forgiven and filed 6 bankruptcies?
So Donald Trump has taken out hundreds of millions of loans and has had them all forgiven. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? But you have to love that argument. I shouldn't have to pay my loans back because Orange Man bad. But the reality is, Trump himself has never personally filed for bankruptcy. As PolitiFact pointed out in 2016, Trump has actually filed Chapter 11 6 times. 4 times within 2 years in the 1990s, once more in 2004, and once more in 2009. But experts told us Trump shouldn't bear all the responsibility, as the majority of bankruptcies happened as the overall casino industry struggled. And while 6 bankruptcies might seem like a lot, consider that the Trump Organization owns approximately 500 companies. So in context, it's not really a bad track record.
Breaking news, anyone who has student loans or has applied for federal financial aid is at risk. Look, this isn't alarmist, this is personal to me. I took out over $100,000 of loans to finish law school.
Says the congressman who is worth tens of millions of dollars and has been accused of trying to obfuscate his financials. But it's personal.
For 5 years, there's been a forbearance on student loans. No one has had to pay these loans back to the government if they can't afford it. Donald Trump is changing that.
And that's the point. Millions of borrowers have not had to make a single payment for over 5 years. Also, who's to say that these people can't afford it?
I've been playing a Catch Me If You Can game with them student loans for a very long time. So I'm still going to continue to play that same game after May 5th. I don't know who these people think they are trying to take money back.
Listen, man, it's a lot of people doing this with their bills. She said she's playing tag with the student loan people. Catch me if you can. Listen, this is not the thing that you're going to be able to play catch me what you can with. You might be able to do this with your credit cards. You might be able to do this with your little payday loans. You might be able to do this with your cable bill. Student loans, there is not going to be a catch me if you can. You're going to be caught. And while you're trying to pretend like it doesn't exist, that interest doesn't freeze either. So eventually when you are caught, and then you have to address not just your principal balance, but all that interest that has been compounding on your balance that you've been trying to duck and dodge, then it's going to be a rude awakening. You just need to address it. You decided to take it on. It's your responsibility. You just have to formulate a plan, and you got to start figuring it out from there. And you're going to probably have to make some concessions in your life. And that's a part of maturity, and that's a part of life. And by concessions, I mean, you might have saw it one way. You might have saw your life that you was going to be single all your life. And that might not make sense for practical reasons now. And so you may have to find a way to work with somebody. Hey, listen, I know some people don't care about the relationship stuff. Maybe it's not a relationship thing. Maybe you just saw for your life that you was just going to have your own space. And now you're going to have to come to the realization that you're going to have to get some roommates. Whatever that could look like, that's going to be on you to try to formulate how you're going to address it. But ultimately, you want to address it because you don't want to look up one day and $200,000 in student loans becomes $750,000 in student loans. But because this interest is going to compound. The same way somebody can put a nest egg into their investment brokerage account and watch it compound over time. And the bigger that balance gets, the better it compounds. That's about to happen to you in reverse in the context of debt if you don't address this and if you don't take this serious.
I think they are trying to take money back for a degree. Like, I'd understand if I owed something for something serious. A degree? You want me to pay you for me being an educated, upstanding individual in the society? I need to now pay you? because I'm intelligent and a great civilian? Please.
Whoa. Hold on now. How are we weighing intelligence? Because you're intelligent, but you decide to take on a bunch of debt that you really don't want to address. So how is that intelligence? You can say you're intelligent. A lot of the stuff that you learned, you could have taught yourself. But instead, Miss Intelligence, you decided to go to school and basically enslave your own self. So just because here's the thing, I wouldn't address the intelligent argument if she didn't try to use it as it came across very like she feels elite. And so now I'm going to address it. And now I'm going to isolate what you just said. Because if you're so intelligent, then why'd you go in all this debt that you ultimately and clearly can't afford to be in? It made yourself a slave for information that arguably you could have taught yourself in 2026. Just say what it really is. Because you was probably partying in college anyway. Just say what it really is. You wanted that piece of paper to make you feel good. And maybe to get some opportunities, but as we see, there's been so many people who have gotten their degree and it really doesn't hold up. It really doesn't show in real situations and in real time that this degree makes you better than a candidate without one. A lot of y'all are being outperformed with people without degrees because what has happened psychologically, it wasn't about the education. You wanted the degree to do all the heavy lifting. And you didn't want to actually have to take initiative in some cases, not all cases. I'm not even saying most cases, but in a good amount of cases. I think you can argue that with a degree, without a degree, that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to be better at whatever endeavor that they ultimately partake in professionally. And a lot of y'all with degrees don't have common sense. We're just going to address the elephant in the room. A lot of y'all with degrees don't have common sense. And the main indicator is the fact that you took all this debt for something that you really didn't need to have. Because y'all are also going into careers that don't require degrees a lot of times.
I'm intelligent and a great civilian? Please.
Girl, don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm not gonna do it, girl. I was just thinking about it. I'm not gonna do it. I did it.
If you're ordering luxury desserts from Magnolia Bakery instead of making
Paying
loan
your loan
payments,
payments.
it means that you can make loan payments. You're just choosing not to.
What about the bankruptcy?
You're just choosing not to.
Options, all income driven or
A lot of these things are choices. People want their desires and they don't want to ultimately address their responsibility. And they feel like their responsibility should either be wiped away or it should be kicked down the road and actually put onto someone else to actually be responsible for what they chose and decided to be responsible for ultimately.
student loans, listen up. Starting July 1st, major changes are coming to federal student loans and millions will be affected. Borrowers will have just two repayment options. All income-driven repayment plans are being replaced with one option, the repayment assistance plan. More than 7 million borrowers on the SAVE plan may need to choose a new option or be moved to standard repayment. That could mean higher monthly payments, so check your plan now at studentaid.gov.
Man, these student loans, bro. Student loan and taxes, they never gonna go away. You can't file bankruptcy on them.
Yeah.
You can't go. They can go to collection, but you still gonna have to pay them, bro. I feel bad for people in student loan debt. Thankfully, my family didn't have to go through student loan debt like that, or in student loan debt. You know what I mean? I was military. In my
You know, I agree. I feel bad for people with student loan debt too. But you know what's funny? When I'm sure a lot of people were weighing, do I go to college or do I go to the military? They were looking, I'm intelligent, like that woman just said. Why would I be in the military? That would be a waste of my talents. Meanwhile, we see who's really intelligent. I see people in the military able to be free and live all across the globe and do whatever they want and get reoccurring payments for the rest of their life, as well as then they're actually able to go and get their education for free. And a lot of people were looking down on military people. And meanwhile, who was really the smart one? Ultimately, what it showed was that they were willing to undergo delayed gratification, which isn't that the meaning of school to begin with? Isn't that what that's supposed to represent? That you're willing to go through delayed gratification? But again, when most people are going to school, what's really enticing them is to be able to walk the campus and take the tour, and they take that tour of the campus and all this type of stuff, and they're like, wow, I'm gonna be a part of something, and it's so beautiful, and they can't wait to be at the dorm and then have the party and be around either, you know, be around other kids and socialize. And let's not fake like that's not the real incentive why a lot of people are going to school. Meanwhile, the military person was going to the military because they were actually thinking about their stability in life. Whereas a lot of people early on, when they're thinking about going to college, they're just thinking about having a good time. And see, when you're looking around that campus and you're seeing all the bells and whistles and everything is beautiful, and you see the workers outside and they're working on the landscaping and making sure that them bushes is perfectly round and everything's just looking immaculate and pristine. You think that doesn't have a cost? That should be a negative indicator to let you know, oh, this is going to be expensive. This is going to cost me a pretty penny. Let me make sure, how much are y'all going to be charging me? What are these contract terms? What is this interest term? Now, again, a lot of people take these loans at a young age. I don't expect you to be that savvy, but we also have to shift a little bit of blame to the parents as well, because a lot of the reason why a lot of these younger folks go to college and take on these self-inflicted wounds, we can't deny it. They try to act like it's pressure from society and pressure from the jobs. Man, a lot of people's parents was pressuring them and dang near forcing them to go and take on these insane self-inflicted wounds, which I find ironic because it's kind of your duty, you would think, to have been preparing and saving so that there was something for that conventionally, that's how it's been, to where you can cover at least a substantial portion of your child's education, if that's but especially though, especially if that's something that you're pressuring your kid to do, pressuring your kid to go into enormous debt that can never be wiped away and that will only grow. I think that's insane. So if you're a person and if you're in that situation, then my heart really goes out to you.
Debt like that, all in student loan debt. You know what I mean? I was military. And my kids get benefits to pay their college. But man, I'm seeing people in $100,000 worth of debt, as much as $500,000 worth of debt, student loan debt. Man, you would never get out of that, but you're not long to take you to pay that stuff off. When you leave college, you already got a mortgage payment, man. So when I'm seeing people talking about right now, their student loan payment has tripled, as much as up to $3,800 a month. Man, who can $3,800 a month on student loan on top of mortgage? That's crazy. If you can get a mortgage with that type of payment. So I feel bad for a lot of people out there, man. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, he said it, man. Some people will never get out of that. A lot of people will never get out of that, especially when you're talking about the debt that balloons up into the excess of hundreds of thousands. Do you know how fast that can just keep growing? You may even be paying a substantial portion. Like one of those comments said where she said 300 she's got a $400 payment and only $100 is going towards the principal. The other 300 is going towards the interest. So your principal is slowly withering while you're still paying an exorbitant amount. And so you either have to get more aggressive, which is still going to take an extended amount of time. It's still, even if you get more aggressive, it's hard to have sustained and prolonged aggression. in anything. But for a lot of people in these situations, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take you sustaining a prolonged period of aggressive attacking when it comes to trying to hammer down these student loan payments. That's really what it's going to take. If you watch the Dave Ramsey show, he'll give it to you straight all the time. He'll let you know pork and beans, you can't go out to eat for 5 years, and you just got to get this monkey off your back. He pretty much treats it like a severe medical diagnosis. If you have a severe medical diagnosis, they can't just be light with it and put an IV in you. A lot of times they have to go in with extremely aggressive treatment. And for a lot of people who are just acting like they're going to ignore their student loan responsibilities, that is counterintuitive to what you actually need to do. You need to go in very aggressively if you want to stand to have any chance of being able to overcome it.
Actually walking on top of the garage so I can pay off I moved into my parents' garage so I can pay off $56,000 worth of student loan debt, and today I'll be making my first payment. Actually walking on top of my house right now, so let's get back home. My name's Sarah. I'm a 27-year-old single mom and nurse, and I moved me and my daughter into my parents' garage. And within the first year of living here, I'm planning to pay off all $56,000 worth of student loan debt. I'm calling this a student debt payoff challenge, and today is the first day that I'm making my first payment. As a reminder, I have $38,000 in federal loans and $18,000 in private loans. I'll be paying off the private loans first because of the higher interest rate. So let's go inside so we can make our first payment. To keep it real with you guys, I did already make my first payment, but that's only so I can come with receipts. So on May 27th, I made a payment of $5,330, which brings our total loan amount down to $12,768.
Didn't I tell you had to come in aggressive? Oh, you got to be aggressive. She's putting 5 on it every month. Yeah, if you want to get over it. Meanwhile, keep in mind, she's in a great position. She doesn't probably have to pay any bills because she lives with her parents. So she's able to just throw the whole thing at it, which is what I would advise. There's a lot of people who just aren't willing to do that. Even if they have the option and the availability to stay at home and save all their money, they still have to do what they need to do and go pick up a car payment. She has a great opportunity and she's taking advantage. And again, I would even argue she's probably doing it because, let's just be real, in sheer comparison to some of the more extreme cases that we see, she only owes $56,000, which is substantial. It is. But again, in comparison to cases to where you see people in hundreds of thousands of dollars, see, when you see somebody and they're like, I make 6 figures, most people be at like, oh, I make $103,000 a year. They talking about I make 6 figures. It's like, you do technically, but kind of giving the illusion that you make like 300 grand or 400 grand. A lot of people owe 6 figures in student loans, and they ain't giving the illusion. They really owe 6 figures. Not 100 grand, 250, 300, 400. And sometimes it's dumb degrees. They don't even really have a degree that's going to allow them to be able to earn a substantial income. And so I would argue most people wouldn't want to come in that aggressive, which they should, because again, you would have to sustain that aggression over a long time horizon. She can have a short burst of sustained aggression and she could put a real big dent into this. But for a lot of people, their student loans is like Majin Buu. That interest has it keep on regenerating. Every time you do some damage, it's just regenerating off that interest. And then you get fatigued and you get tired and you're like, okay, I just need a period where I can just keep a little something for myself. And then it'll build right back up to where you started. That's why I say it's like slavery. And that's why that other brother said, for some people, they ain't never going to be able to get that monkey off their back.
which brings our total loan amount down to $12,768. Where this money came from exactly is a combination of a bunch of things, which include my TikTok views, money of my own, and brand deals. I cannot wait to pay these loans off because when I do, I get to reward me and my daughter, and the same thing applies when I pay off my federal loans. This is just the beginning of my student payoff journey, so if you want to watch me pay off all of my debt and see the rewards I give to me and my daughter, I'd love for you guys to follow along. And also, if you're on the same journey, comment down below how much debt you're in and how much you paid. I'll see you guys in part 2. I moved into my parents'
Gotta do things in order, man. You gotta do things in order. Listen, she done threw in the daughter in there. Kids are a blessing, cool, but it's still a self-inflicted wound too, especially when you got this debt. I'm glad that she's taking the urgency to just go ahead and get it off her back, but just understand you're fortunate. You're one of the lucky ones. You have a parents. It looked like she had a lot of space down there in that attic or whatever, and that's fortunate for you. But I'm noticing a trend of just taking on overhead before you're ready and before you're sustainable and foundational. Now, she probably, listen, she got a good career. She got a good career. She's a nurse. I would argue $56,000 to be a nurse, especially if you strategize it and know you can stay at home with your parents. Smart decision.
Did that, the mindset behind it, and how I pay off my loans over time. So first off, I use the method called the Avalanche method. Last night at 1 a.m.
Her caption says why I paid off $10,000 in student loans instead of keeping it into my savings account.
At 1 a.m., I impulsively paid off one student loan of $10,000, and I want to tell you guys why I did that, the mindset behind it, and how I pay off my loans over time. So first off, I use the method called the Avalanche method to pay off loans. What the Avalanche method is that whatever your highest interest rate of a loan is, you pay that off first and then you go down from there. That's completely the opposite of the snowball method, where the snowball method, you pay off your lowest interest rate and just keep on going from there, snowballing into you paying off higher and higher interest rates. For me, I did the Avalanche method because that just makes sense for my situation. Cool. My student loan that I had was $10,000. $10,000, with the original being $11,000, and I've been paying it for 6-ish months, and I've been putting about $200 to $400 every single month towards this loan, barely making a dent. And that's the thing about loans, right? They're very predatory, especially if it has a high interest rate. This specific loan had an interest rate of 8.62%. That is very high.
That's super
Any
high.
loan you have that's over 6% is very, very high, right? And I was thinking to myself, I have made an entire emergency fund on my high yield savings account.
That's super high. And these are guaranteed interest rates too. Man, conservatively in an index fund, conservatively over the course of 20, 30 years, and I'm not a financial advisor, conservatively, you can expect about a 7% annual return on your portfolio. Her student loan is almost 9%. And that's guaranteed money. Man, people don't understand. With these student loans, you as an individual are a collection in somebody's portfolio. Imagine being diversified with real life sentient human beings. You like, yeah, I got a diversified portfolio of people who owe me money. Some people, it's cool. You got a diversified portfolio of real estate, stocks, bonds, index funds. Nah, it's some ninjas out there with diversified portfolios of people that they hope you don't get aggressive, and that you allow this interest to keep building up that you can never wipe away. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pass this down to my kids. I'm gonna pass her down to my kids. She's being aggressive.
With Capital One, where I'm accumulating 3.3% interest rate every single year. But that is not enough to even compare to the 8.62% interest rate I have on my student loans. So what I did was, okay, I have enough money to pay this off while still having a significant amount of money in my high yield savings account. Let me just pay this off so I'm not consistently paying this every single month and barely even making a dent. And then working to make a better high yield savings account emergency fund after this. So that's what I did. 1 a.m., I think 1 or 2 a.m. last night, I said, let me just pay this off. Move money from my high yield savings account to my checking account, paid off my College Avenue student loan, and now I don't have to pay it off ever. and I could just put more money to my high yield savings account, and I'm
Yep.
good for the rest of my life. And that's the thing about financial literacy. Like, you need to know what your standing is when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to loans, when it comes to your debts, when it comes to your savings. Because I have this entire time, like, I'm literally looking at my budgeting template right now. And last night I was like going through it, everything. I'm like, I can pay this off. Like, I have the means to pay this off. Let me just do it. And that's what I did it. But this works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. But knowing where your money is going, knowing how your money works.
Yeah, good job. It works for most. It works for most. And again, she doesn't have much. But my main thing, imagine these people with, let's just say you got $250,000 in student loans. You got $250,000 in student loans. And let's say you are aggressive and you do sustain that continual effort and you ultimately get over that hump. And by the time you pay off your student loans, you done paid, because you was aggressive, you paid $300,000 altogether. You did it. You made it. But ultimately, you did all that. Let's say it took you 4 years, 5 years, just to end up with $0 in the bank. The work's not done. You just wiped away your debt, but you are at zero right now. You're still broke. Imagine you done paid $300,000 just to still be broke. I would be sick knowing that I could have had $300,000 in the bank, but I paid it. And it took everything. And now I got to get right back on the horse so that I can actually start building up some money. Man, that would hurt. And I think that's what a lot of people are really fighting with internally and psychologically. The understanding of, man, I'm about to just pay off all this imaginary money. And just for this piece of paper that doesn't have the prestige that I thought it would and doesn't represent what I thought it would in some cases, not all cases, but some cases. And I think there's a lot of people understanding and realizing that they made a mistake. And they made a big mistake, and they made a big mistake early. And so it's like you think you're on the right path because there's other people making egregious mistakes. Imagine it was somebody who was racking up a criminal record. He got mugshot after mugshot after mugshot. And then he finally decides he's going to get his life together. But early on in his teens and in his early adulthood, he was racking up an insane criminal record. And he's still better off than you as far as his decisions. Because he can still get out here and drive trucks and do HVAC and make good money and have no debt. And it's like, I don't want to be insensitive, but it's almost like you're going to be a forever slave. Ain't that something? The person who went and was getting a criminal record and maybe even got that F on his report card, i.e. a felony, might still be better off than some people getting all this debt that they're trying to pretend like it's not real and it's just continuing to grow. You have to address it. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but you have to address it. You have to put forth the plan. And to me, use AI. Use AI. If you don't know, AI is very good at math and it's very good at making long-term math plans, especially depending on your income. And then it can do the equation as far as what proportion do you need to pay based off your loans and percentages? And then you may just have to automate it over a long period of time, right? So where you just say, okay, I'm for pretty much perpetuity, 30 years, I'm going to have this payment that I know that rain, sleet, or snow I have to make. And then you can start to just make sure that you increase your income to make sure you can still live within the lifestyle that you want to live. So, I mean, for example, I mean, and then we'll wrap it up here. I mean, let's be honest. If and look and do equations on a long-term scale. So let's just pick a good number. Let's just say you make 150. I hope if you have substantial student loan debt, you can make at least 150. Let's say you make 150. Let's be honest. You can still live a good life off of 100. All right, you can still live a perfectly good life off of 100. Taxes and all that type of stuff aren't factored in. Let's just say 100, and you take your taxes out from there. Now you can just allocate that 50 towards your debt, and you can just pretend like it doesn't exist. And you can still live a good life off of 100. You can still live a good life off of 100, but you just may have to come to terms with the fact that a portion of your income, a percentage of your income, is going to be designated for something for a long period of time, and you just have to pretend like you didn't make it. I think that's going to be the best plan and the best thing for people psychologically, and you're just going to have to automate it and just know what it's going to do over time, and that is will eventually get the monkey off your back. I think that's going to be the best course of action for people who have an exorbitant amount of debt. But that's just one solution. I'm sure I could think of tons of other ones. But yeah, we'll leave it there for today. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hype the video. Hype is a new feature that YouTube offers where it helps smaller content creators like myself. And basically, when you hype, it actually pushes us to the extent that it pushes the larger content creators. So you just press the hype button and it shows the points. And since I am a smaller creator, a smaller channel, we actually get more points per hype. And hype was designed for smaller channels, so that's why. But if you come across a video and you don't see the hype button, then it's probably been over 7 days, and hype usually vanishes after 7 days. So it's usually best practice if you want to hype to just go ahead and hype while the iron is hot on a newer video, if that's what you want to do. And then also, if you want to become a member of the channel, join buttons on the video. And what becoming a member of the DXU family will come with is you will get badges next to your comments. So it'll show people that you are a member whenever you leave a comment, as well as you would get early access to content and exclusive content that's not available for everyone else on YouTube. So again, if you want to become a member, join buttons on the video. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.